Yo. Coming to you live about 9:35 Eastern Standard Time. Watching a couple of the games, only 4 games on the NBA right now. I didn't have any official action until Trae Young, until Trae Young officially got rolled in. And then I played the over. So sweating that out right now as the fourth quarter just starts. Scoring picked up a little bit, so hopefully we can get up and over. I think I got like a 226.5. So only thing I have available right now, we got a plethora of games tomorrow. Honestly, not too many good ones. I think it maybe like a couple spots on the board that I haven't went through yet, a couple plays that I want to make. But for this video specifically, we're going to go through a couple of the games that I got through. And it's a couple ugly games, but I think I see some value. I think I see some lines that's going to move. And I already have 2 tickets open, looking to make a third, but I think the other line that I'm looking for is not going to be available to tomorrow. So it is a quarter line, and quarter lines don't open this early, but it's one that I absolutely love for tomorrow. So let's jump into it, man. Like I said, only one bet open for me right now. A recap of yesterday's show is here. Profitable day, but we should have probably cashed Denver minus the 7.5, and Orlando also had a double digit. Both of these teams had double digit leads in the second half. So profitable day, but probably should have been a little bit more profitable. Hopefully Atlanta and Houston can go up and over the total. Let's jump into it for tomorrow, though. So like I said, I think it's 11 games on the board for tomorrow. I don't love the entire slate, and there's a couple games, like I said, I still want to go through. But let's jump into the ones that I did go through, so I can share some hopefully some helpful, actionable data. This one I don't have a play on yet, but let's jump into it. So we got the Detroit Pistons and the Indiana Pacers. Game will be played in Indiana, of course. Looking at the injury report, it looks like Detroit will be fully healthy based on everything that I'm reading. The Indiana Pacers do have Andrew Nembhard listed as questionable, and that's big. We'll talk a little bit more about Andrew Nembhard in just a second. This is the fourth matchup between these two teams. Indiana won the opening night matchup when these two teams played. I think the game was played in Detroit. They did cover the spread. Detroit got their revenge. They won the next one. They covered that spread. And then that was the second one. And then Indiana won the most recent one as well. They won that game on January 16th. So about 2 weeks ago, 111 to 110. They were 2-point road favorites in that game going into Detroit and got a big win. We won't want Indiana in that game. That one also went under the total of 228.5. And you see this one open at 228.5 as well. The first one went under as well. That was 235.5. So the totals have continuously dropped in this matchup between the Pistons and the Pacers throughout the season. And I think for good reason. You look at the situational stuff for Detroit here, 1 day's rest. This is the last game of a 5-game road trip for them. They've kind of been everywhere. They were in Orlando, just went to Cleveland, lost that game as well. Started off a good road trip. They were in Houston and Atlanta. They won both of them. They were getting points in both of those games. And then the last 2, they lost both. Orlando and Cleveland ended up losing both of those games. The offense has really struggled for the Detroit Pistons, which we'll touch on in just a second. You look at the Pacers, first game back home since the Paris game. They were out in Paris for about a week. Played the Spurs. It felt like it was about a week. Played the Spurs twice over there. So 3 days off of rest to kind of get back, adjusted to their normal body clocks. They have been balling, 8-2 straight up and against the spread in their last 10 games. They also don't play again until Saturday, so they can actually go pretty hard in this game, and they don't have to travel. They got Atlanta. The Hawks will be coming into town to play in Indiana. So we know the Pacers got absolutely steamrolled in that first game. They lost the first one by 30. They won the second one by, I think, 36. So 2 really, just Jekyll and Hyde type games for the Indiana Pacers. San Antonio, I think, surprised them a little bit. Then they got their lick back. When I look at Detroit, right, I'm start with Detroit. When I look at them offensively, like I said, they've struggled. They're coming off a game where they scored 91 points against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Over the last 5 games, they're the 6th worst rated offensive rated team. They're also struggling to protect the basketball. They're 8th in turnover rate, the 8th highest turnover rate, bottom 8 in shooting the 3-point shot as well. And they're bottom, but they're still 5th in pace. So they have been pushing the ball, just not really scoring the basketball. And they have played a pretty difficult schedule. 6th in strength of schedule over the last 5 games are the Detroit Pistons. Then we get to the Pacers side. Like I said, this team has been hooping. They're 6th in offensive rating, 4th in effective field goal percentage, attacking the mid-range shot, which they should have some advantage here because Detroit has not been defending the mid-range shot at all recently. They're 10th in frequency, 1st in accuracy last 5 games. It's Halliburton pulling up mid-range, Benedict Mathurin, Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, all of the guys that can score in the mid-range have been shooting it really well for the Pacers over the last 5 games. Meanwhile, like I said, Detroit, 28th in opponent mid-range accuracy last 5 games, 26th in opponent mid-range frequency. So they've been giving up that mid-range shot, and when teams are shooting it, they're making it against the Pacers recently. Couple things I wanted to look at from the Pacers perspective with them going to Paris. So since the beginning of last season, we've had a handful of teams, about 8 teams, play on a neutral court. And if they won their last game on a neutral court, so you think back to like the in-season tournament, those type games, the cup games, they're 2-6 straight up and against the spread in their next game. That trend does not favor the Pacers here, in my opinion. And then the other thing I wanted to look at a little bit more deeper was just how the Pacers play without Nembhard. We talked about this, referenced this a lot when he first came back. Thought it was important to look into the number as well to do my due diligence as far as handicapping this game. And without Nembhard on the floor, the Pacers defense is not the same. You could say that Tyrese Halliburton is the best player on this team. You could say Pascal Siakam is the second best player on this team. But one thing that can't be overstated is the impact that Andrew Nembhard has. He sets the tone defensively for being able to slow down somebody like a Cade Cunningham, who's absolutely been in his bag, probably going to be an all-star this year, absolutely deserves to be an all-star this year. So without Nembhard on the floor, this team, this Indiana Pacers team, is giving up about 10 points more per 100 possessions. The defensive rating goes from a 108 with him on the floor to a 118 with him off the floor. Those other guys that come in, they can't really do the same exact thing. Ben Shepherd can't do the same exact thing. Jarris Walker can't do the same exact thing that Andrew Nembhard does. So if Nembhard plays, I think the Pacers can win and cover this game. I do think at 5.5, they can win this game. They can cover. Without him, I don't like the Pacers as much. I think Detroit, coming off a couple bad losses, Pacers traveling back from Paris, could potentially overlook this Detroit team, especially because they've beaten them twice already this season as well. When I look at Detroit's offense, like I said, they really struggled as well. So if Nembhard plays, I think the Pacers can get the job done. If Nembhard does not play, I think I would probably be taking the Pacers with the points here. I also like under if Nembhard plays. I do think it's a little bit more of an under game. I like that even though Denver has struggled to score the basketball, like I said, they are bottom 5 offensive rated team. They could be a little fatigued here with it being the last game of a 5-game road trip as well. Detroit is still, however, a top 10 defensive rated team. Last 5 games, they're third in opponent effective field goal percentage as well. And even though Indiana is a team that likes to push the pace, as far as frequency goes, they're 7th in pace last 5 games. Detroit, they're a pretty good defensive team in getting back. They're 5th last 5 games in defensive efficiency as far as being able to get back. So lean under. Really would like to get there with the Pacers, but if Nembhard doesn't play, I think I might be on the Pistons. We'll just see how that one goes. Just some thoughts, my analysis on that one. Let's move over to a game that that is absolutely gross. Nobody will be betting Raptors and Wizards. More than likely, I doubt it. But if I see value, I'm trying to attack the value, and I do see some value on the board here. So we got the Toronto Raptors. They'll be in DC. This line opened, I think, 7.5. It's still some 7.5s out there. It's coming down to 7. For what it's worth, in the total open 231.5, it's coming down to 231. Probably going to close a little bit lower than that. We'll see where the total goes. I'm predicting that it goes down, though. And for what it's worth, this is the first time that the Pacers have been a road favorite all season. And that just lets you know the state of the Wizards, because the Raptors have been a home favorite, I think, maybe once, maybe 3 or 4 times, but never a road favorite. So a team that's never been a road favorite is projected to blow out the Washington Wizards, because when you're laying 7, you feel comfortable laying that 7. You're probably hoping that this team wins, not by 8. You want them to win by 10 or 11. So the books are pretty much daring you, if you want to take the Raptors here, to say that they're going to beat the Wizards by 10 points or more as well. Is the line inflated because the Raptors are playing so good right now? Potentially. But let's jump into it. So Toronto, I didn't see – well, actually I did. Quickly continues to be out, which I think just continues to slow the pace down, and the Raptors will be a pretty good defensive team. More on that in a second. And then Kelly Olynyk is listed as questionable. On the Wizards side of things, you got Bagley, Brogdon. Both of those guys continue to remain out. And then Alex Sarr is listed as questionable. He popped up on the injury report. We'll see if he goes or not. This is the first meeting between the two teams. They have not played this season. Toronto owns this matchup. They've won 8 of the last 10 games against the Washington Wizards. The totals have gone under as well, 7-3 to the under, going back about 2 or 3 years ago, over the last, well, a little bit farther than 2 or 3 years ago, over the last 10 games, 7-3 to the under. So you look at the situational spot here for the Raptors, four straight wins, 4 straight covers, 5-2 to the under in their last 7 games. They're 7-3 against the spread. This Raptors team has been hooping, man. Just beat New Orleans by 9 as a 1-point home dog just a couple nights ago. And then a terrible situational spot for the Wizards. First game back home after a 6-game road trip. They got absolutely blasted by the Dallas Mavericks. They lost that game by 22 points. First leg of a back-to-back as well. They got the Lakers coming to town. That game will be played on Friday. And the play here is the Wizards, right? I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, like my good friend Ski Prophet says. You're looking at a Washington Wizards team that is the worst offensive rated team in the league on the full season. They're second worst last 5 games. They're the worst. They have the worst shoot field goal percentage, the 5th worst offensive rebounding team, so they don't get a ton of second chance points. They don't go to the free throw line either. They're actually 6th lowest free throw rate. And you just kind of look at the profile for the Wizards, right? You look at the numbers, you gather all the data, and they profile like a Golden State team that doesn't run a lot of backdoor cuts, or like a Brooklyn Nets team, more so just like a Brooklyn Nets team, a team that just wants to shoot a ton of threes, but does so inefficiently. The same, just like the Brooklyn Nets. And when the Warriors get smoked, it's typically because they're shooting a bunch of threes, and also they don't have the defensive personnel or capabilities to be able to stop anybody. So on the full season, you look at this Wizards team, they're 12th in 3-point frequency, meaning that they shoot only 11 teams shoot more threes than the Washington Wizards. But they're shooting the second worst percentage. It's just 33.6% are the Washington Wizards. Over the last 5 games, nothing has changed. Washington is shooting the 5th most threes. So they're shooting even more threes over the last 5 games, but they're shooting it at the 6th worst percentage, just 32.9%. They don't attack the rim frequently or efficiently, just 28th in frequency, 25th in accuracy over the last 5 games for the Washington Wizards. You look at their half-court offense, last 5 games, 4th worst. Even though they are 2nd in transition frequency, 5th in pace over the last 5 games, they're still averaging just 99.6 points per game. And that's what we always mean when we talk about teams that are, playing fast but not efficient. And I'm not expecting this offense to be efficient at all, because the Raptors have actually turned some kind of defensive switch on. It's absolutely insane what the Toronto Raptors are doing. It's not like they've been playing a difficult schedule because they haven't. They're 26th in strength of schedule over the last 5 games are the Raptors, but they're the number 1 rated defensive team. And it's not like they're about to play against an offensive juggernaut for the Washington Wizards either. Number 1 defensive rated team are the Toronto Raptors. They're number 2 in opponent effective field goal percentage, and they have the 6th highest turnover rate through the Toronto Raptors over their last 5 games. They've also been excellent guarding that 3-point line that we just talked about for the Wizards. Last 5 games, they're 4th in opponent 3-point frequency, so they're doing a really good job of running teams off the 3-point line, and they're doing a really good job excellent job of defending the 3-point shot as well. They're actually number 1 in opponent 3-point accuracy, holding teams to 28.8%. Are the Toronto Raptors over their last 5 games. So you look at Toronto 6 of their last 7 games, their opponents have actually stayed under their team total, have the Raptors opponents, and the Wizards have actually their last 5 games that they played at home with a total that's 232, because this one 232 or less. They've stayed under their team total in 4 of their last 5 games as well. The Wizards team total right now at the current recording time of this video is 112.5. That's the team total for the Wizards that they've been under 5 straight games. They haven't gotten to 113 or better. 5 straight games, they stayed under their team total. 5 straight games, they stayed under 113. I don't think that they're going to get there toward tomorrow versus the Toronto Raptors. So I see some value there. I played the Washington Wizards team total under 112.5. Next game up and last game I'm going to go through in this video is the Brooklyn Nets and the Charlotte Hornets. And I know you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, Kristen lost his mind, man. He about to have a play in the Nets and the Hornets game, and I see value. So I'm attack the value, right? So looking at the matchup, first of all, the value comes probably from all the injuries. So we know that if you've been paying attention, the Charlotte Hornets just played against the Lakers. LaMelo Ball went down in that game. He will not be active. Mark Williams will not be active. Brandon Miller is done for the season. Jalen Green is not going to be active for this game. Cody Martin is not going to be active for this game. Grant Williams, been gone for a while, will not be active for this game. He's not coming back. He's done for the season. So you got a Charlotte Hornets team that I'm not sure where the points going to come from, honestly. And I know that the Brooklyn Nets are not a great defensive team, but the Brooklyn Nets play super slow. The Brooklyn Nets also have a plethora of injuries as well. They will potentially get Ben Simmons back. We know he could be a late scratch at any minute. Who really knows what happens with him? You got Noah Clowney listed as out. Trent Watford is off the injury report as well. You got the Charlotte Hornets laying 3 points. I think that's too many points, but that's not the play here. This is the second matchup of the season. Brooklyn won the earlier one, 116-115. They were 1.5 point dog, kind of very similar line. Last 4 games between these two teams have all been overs, but those rosters were a little different. You got a Brooklyn team that's lost 3 straight games, 7 straight non-covers. 7 straight losses, 3 straight non-covers, 5 straight unders for the Brooklyn Nets. We continuously cash on their team total unders. They're 7-1 to the under in their last 8 games. 7 straight games, they've actually failed to score 102 points. Then you look at this Charlotte team, 4th straight home game for them. Just lost to the Lakers, like we talked about, but they did cover that as 5.5 point favorites. They got a game at home against the Clippers on Friday. So no potential real big look ahead spot here. The Hornets have been favorites 4 times this season. They've covered how many do you guys think? 1, maybe 2, 0. They've covered 0 of the 4 times that they've been a favorite this season. That's not even the play though. The play is the under. This number I think is going to move. I think it's going to move pretty quickly. It's 208 right now. I already see it down to 206.5, but it's 208. It's 208 on multiple books. So hopefully by the time this video is released, I sent this out to the members. Hopefully by the time the video is released, you still can grab some under 208. I do see it all the way down to 206.5. I'm just trying to figure out where the points are going to come from. I just told you guys Charlotte Hornets will be without every single starter. I think they just scored 97 points, and that was a game that LaMelo played a little bit of. So I'm having really hard time trying to figure out where the points are going to come from in this game on either side. The Brooklyn Nets are continuously going under 100 points. So total under. These are 2 very inefficient teams, 2 teams that play at a snail's pace. The Brooklyn Nets are really slow. You take LaMelo Ball off the floor, and the Charlotte Hornets start to go about as fast as the Brooklyn Nets do. So 2 teams that I like the Brooklyn Nets just to put some numbers to it. Brooklyn is the third slowest pace team on the road. Last 5 games, they played at the slowest pace. They are also the 3rd worst efficiency team from an offensive perspective. And the Charlotte Hornets numbers without LaMelo Ball are probably even worse than the Brooklyn Nets. So under 208 is the play here. There's also a first quarter play that I want to make here. The Brooklyn Nets first quarter against the spread. Whatever the number is, I do think that they come out, they gain the lead early, especially with this Charlotte team that has no cohesion and chemistry, whatever lineup that they tried out there with Micic at the point guard position. It's just going to be, I think Brooklyn actually wins the game, honestly. I think 3 is a gift. Am I betting it? No. But the first quarter, I will bet the first quarter. The line isn't available yet. Best first quarter team in the NBA are the Brooklyn Nets. They're 31-14-2 against the spread in the first quarter. On the road, they're league best 19-6-1 against the number. Last 10 games, they're 7-3 against the number. Last 10 road games, they're 9-1 against the number. And you got a Charlotte Hornets team that's 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 home games. And that's with a healthy roster. So I've seen Brooklyn jump out on plenty of good teams recently. They just had a double-digit lead against the Sacramento Kings going into halftime, I think, just a couple nights ago. And that was Sacramento in a nice little revenge spot, but also Sacramento had just got smoked against the Knicks a couple nights before at MSG. So Brooklyn is a team that, they come out, they for whatever reason play a good 12 minutes of basketball, sometimes a good 24 minutes, and then they just kind of let go of the rope as the game goes on. So we're going Brooklyn first quarter against the spread when that number becomes available. It should be something like a +1. Really, I think they just win the first quarter. So probably a money line play, honestly. But I think Brooklyn also wins the game. Under 208 is the best play. Brooklyn first quarter will be something that I add, and I lean towards Brooklyn to win this game. I don't think that this line is going to close at 3. Even tanking teams like the Brooklyn Nets are, even they need to win a game or want to win a game every now and then. They've lost 8 straight, have the Brooklyn Nets in a row. It's time for them to win one before getting back to regularly scheduled programming, in my opinion here. So very, very winnable game here. I think that the Brooklyn Nets can get the job done, especially if they have all their troops available. We'll see how that goes for tomorrow. It will be no Cam Johnson, no Cam Thomas, but outside of that, I still think that they have enough to beat the Charlotte Hornets team or keep it within the 3-point spread. And that'll be it for the show, man. Like I said, real quick show. I might have talked for a long time, but just kind of wanted to give you guys my thought process. The Washington Wizards team total under I'm not sure why this says 115.5. I swear I didn't type that in. This Washington Wizards team total is not 112 and 115.5. That'd be nice if it was 115.5. It's actually 112.5. So 112.5 is the Washington team total that I'm going under on. Brooklyn, Charlotte under 208. I will be on Brooklyn first quarter. Kind of want to add Brooklyn plus the 3 as well. I know it's super ugly. It's a super tank fest game, but I think Brooklyn gets the job done tomorrow. Tons of other games on the board for tomorrow. Denver, New York. I lean Denver. First quarter, I think they come out with something after getting absolutely steamed by the Minnesota Timberwolves. No effort in that game against Chicago the other day. I was on them minus the 7.5. Listen to the post-game interviews. They probably gonna be fired up, man. And the Knicks, they can come out flat at home sometimes. So just some quick thoughts there. I haven't really locked it in yet. That number isn't even available, but Denver first quarter makes a ton of sense. It's a reason why this line opened at 3 and there's no movement towards the Knicks at all. I think Denver could potentially be the right side tomorrow. Probably won't get there. They've actually been a really good team for me to profit off of and bounce back spots, but they let the world down the other day. Just playing with pretty poor effort the other day. So that's a game that I'm interested to dive a little bit deeper into. Sacramento and Philly probably won't do too much with that. Do think it's a Cleveland spot tomorrow, minus the 8. They will still be without bodies, but you got Miami coming off a double overtime game. We'll talk about the rest of the games tomorrow. Charlotte, Chicago, and Boston. Bunch of guys on the injury report for Boston. I do think I'm want to get there with the Clippers. Nice little revenge spot for them tomorrow against the San Antonio Spurs. And then I think I don't know about Dallas and New Orleans. We'll talk about all the rest of the games tomorrow, but it's a ton of games. Not a lot of value, in my opinion, from a side or a totals perspective. So I'll take the rest of the night to actually go through and see if I can find some player props that I like for tomorrow as well. We did cash out on the Gafford play yesterday, so maybe I'll find some player props that I absolutely love as well. But that'll be the show for today. All the resources that I use to handicap sports are here. You can sign up using Jackson, which we talk about every morning on the morning show, 7:30 a.m. If you guys are new, check me out. I'll be live at 7:30 a.m. But Jackson, there is a AI sports betting tool that you can utilize. Get 50% off using code ChrisBeCappinn 2 P's 2 N's. And then Outlier. And Jackson, I think, is about to cash the over too. I forgot about that. The Lakers and Philly went over. So that's 3-0. Three of the last plays for Jackson. I've actually gone Jackson's way. 3-0 to the 3-0 straight up in the last 3 bets for Jackson. Nice little 3-0 run for Jackson. Might be even longer. But check Jackson out. Outlier. 7-day free link trial in the description. Moneyball, same thing. 50% off. Using code ChrisBeCappinn 2 P's 2 N's and OzJam for whatever it is that you need over there. I always talk about the sportsbook screen page though. So that's the show, man. Like I said, tap back in with me in the morning. We'll get through the other, I think it's 8 or 9 games, but I think I see value in the ugly games, man. So not super big plays, but I think that they are winners and I've already locked them in. So hopefully this was helpful for your handicapping process. I will catch you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Join the ChrisBeCappinn Show. Have a great night. Catch you then.